Hey everyone, welcome back to another weekly recap here on Already Overbooked. Let's just jump in to what's been going on. So we're gonna just lean into the BookTuber giveaway. So last week I was going up against Chance Dillon, the author of this fantastic book, Mercy, Tears of the Fallen, and yeah, I lost. I lost pretty bad. The score was 96 to 80. So we're doing the Wheel of Destiny to find out who went through and won. I think there was only 3 people, so let's just jump in to see who wins this gem. Awesome. Congratulations, L.N. Holmes, on winning this fantastic gem. Go through and toss, shoot me a message in either email, social media, Discord. You know how to get in contact with me. And, yeah, send me over some information. We'll go through and I'll send you a copy of this fantastic book. I know you're going to go through and love it. This is an epic, awesome story. Super excited for you to go through and read this. So congratulations again. So this week I am going up against the legend himself, ZB Steele. He's the author of Whispers of the Storm. So I'm super excited for this week's matchup, and I had a lot of fun with this book. Also, the novella of his as well, Inkling of the Flame, such a gem. So, if you're interested in winning a copy of Whispers of the Storm, if I am going to lose another week, go through and put Storm in the description below if you're interested in winning Whispers of the Storm by the fantastic ZB Steele. Also, another epic, grimdark type of story. A lot of fun. So let's go through and jump into what did I go through and read last week. I ended up going through and reading 3 books. The first one was Breaking, and this book is that kind of fantasy that exceeded my expectations. So, a little bit of what this is about. There's a world where life itself like hums through the living beings. It's like a rhythm, and it suddenly stops and turns dark. And these 3 strangers are forced to really uncover what is actually happening and why the world is falling apart. It's an immersive fantasy, and it has slow points. It has a lot of epic points within this, and the beats hit so well. This was a very fun read definitely for a first novel in a series. So I have a lot of questions and a lot of interest to know, hey, what's going to happen next in this fantastic epic world. So yeah, Breaking. It was a lot of fun. The next one I went through and read was Starlight Jewel, and this one was intriguing. It was very interesting. It was not honestly what I expected in a good way. It was good, but it was not what I expected going in. Based on the cover, I was thinking it was going to be more of a romance driven story, and that's not what it was. It was more epic with a pinch of that romance, and I thought it was going to be flipped. So thank goodness it had more fantasy and epic moments rather than the romance side of it. So a little bit what this one's about. Starlight Jewel really throws you in a world where we have these individuals called hybrids, and they're really property. And rebellion starts brewing. People start really testing their loyalty, and it's equal part vulnerable and vicious. It's a story really about power control and what it costs to keep humanity when everything around you really wants you to just to be obedient and not go through and be your own type of person. The author E.L. Lyons builds this world with intensity, with cracked epic moments with this. You really feel the fracture. You really feel that intensity, that rebellious spirit within this. It has that like pulsing light in the distance in a dark alley, and it really goes through and brings in the light. It brings in that intensity. It's a very fun read. I'm going to be going through and having an interview with E.L. Lyons on Monday, and I'm still trying to get my thoughts around how I want to go through and interview EL, because there's a lot of things that I do want to talk about, but it's very spoilery. So I'm trying to go through and put things together where I can give all of you a little bit more detail about what the story's about, hear from the author, but ask questions in a way that's not going to spoil anything for you, but things that I need to know to understand, because I really enjoyed this series or this book. I know there's a second book. I think she's working on a third one, which we'll find out on Monday. But very excited to go through and continue and then have this conversation with E.L. Lyons on Monday. The last book I went through and read was Black Wind by F. Paul Wilson. And I mentioned, I think last week, that I heard that this book was F. Paul Wilson's best work, and I was optimistic about it. But the hype is 100% real with this one. It was so well done. It takes place over a decade time. It's about World War II. It's about two brothers. There is an American boy, and then also it goes over Japanese loyalty. It goes over faith. It goes over identity, and it really wraps the world around in a way that you really are bled into the culture of the Japanese people. People from Japan, you really understand their culture there, and then you really understand what they were going through to the lead ups of World War II and the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and you really get to feel the injustice that these people were going through, the anger people had towards them, and the story really pulls you in. It's a slower story, but it has intense moments, and it really had me in my feels after finishing the book. So I'm going to be doing a review probably in a few weeks. I need to reread some things about it, go back to a few chapters, because again, it hit me really hard on how it ended. It ended so well. It's a perfect standalone story. Probably one of the best standalone stories that I've read ever. Definitely this year. So I'm super excited to go through and talk to you a little bit more about this gem. But yeah, definitely go through and check out Black Wind by F. Paul Wilson. You will not regret that one. So jumping into what I am reading. So I'm going through and starting Ordinary Grace. So I have not opened the book yet, but I do want to probably starting it in the next, like, probably tomorrow or Sunday after I finish the other book that I'm reading. But yeah, I'm really excited to jump into Ordinary Grace. Going to be having a buddy read discussion with Josh from the Reformed Reader. I think we discussed it being in December. Checking my notes here. December 17th. We're going to be doing it on this channel December 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you have more than enough time. So yeah, you have over 5 weeks to go through and read this with us. So go through, get yourself a copy of Ordinary Grace. I think there's an audiobook with it also you can go through and check out. Go through and read this, and then talk with Josh and I on December 17th. And we're going to be going to details. I love talking about themes and tones and symbolism, so we're going to get on that topics as well. So super excited to jump into this and probably have this done, if not close to being done, during next week's weekly recap. The book that I just started, that I'm hoping to get done before I start Ordinary Grace, is an art copy of The Father of Shadow and Death. So I'm only a chapter into this story, and it is Tim McKay's first story into the horror genre. So Tim is more of the epic fantasy type of writer, or I think he wrote a young adult series as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to ask him. But this is his first attempt moving into the horror genre. Now, this is more of a stepping stone. It's fantasy horror, which I haven't read a bunch of, so I am very curious on Tim's writing style, of how it's going to correlate into the horror genre. Tim has his prose is so well done, so I think he's going to knock it out of the park. But at any time you have an author change their comfortability, it always gets me excited, because it's like, hey, is this going to be where they kind of lean towards? Is this what, if I thought they were great before, is this going to elevate them altogether? So super excited. Like I said, I'm only about a chapter in, so I can't really give too much of my opinions into this yet. But so far so good with just the first chapter. So hoping to have this done in the next few days. So definitely give you an update next week. So jumping into my book haul, I didn't get too much, which is perfect. I went through and got one ebook. It was an ARC book, and then I got two physical books. Super excited to go through about one of these. It was a steal. So let's jump into the ebook first before I get too giddy about this book that I was able to go through and find. The ebook was Chromatic Creep by Caden Love. This is the follow-up to Toothsucker, which I really enjoyed. Again, I think I talked about this months ago, and I also did a review on it. I never thought I would go through and enjoy a book of teeth, of people having to eat teeth, but it was so well done. Caden's writing style, his deep thought into what he, not just the main storyline, but the deep symbolism that he puts in his writing, I really do enjoy it. So I'm super excited to jump into Chromatic Creep. Probably going to be doing that in December timeframe is what I'm thinking, unless I have time this month if I fly through these other books, but we'll go through and see, because I'm really curious on what's happening to PETA and the rest of the team that we met in Toothsucker. So super excited to go through to that one. The physical books I got, so I'm going to go through the gift that I got first, and then I'll jump into the book that I was able to go through and find at the local store. So the book I was able to go through and get was Blade Master's Call by J.G. McKinney. So I really do appreciate you sending this to me. The cover looks amazing, and I do want to go through and tell you a little bit what it's about. So before he can delete his dreadful novel, a down-on-his-luck writer finds himself inside his own story, marked for death by its cunning villain. When the awful first volume of Jack Green's epic fantasy trilogy is snubbed by every literary agent on the planet, in a fit of rejection rage, he decides to destroy his life's work. That's when Jake finds himself inside his book, accompanying his sword-wielding hero on a mission that will determine the fate of his character's world and his own. So I went through and spoke with the author through email, and this is very much appreciated. This sounds very, very cool. Something different that I'm very excited to jump into. So what I really find this idea very cool is the author in this story, Jack's story is he had the main character written, he had the idea, but he didn't write where the antagonist was. Like, so he doesn't know where the antagonist's location is. He doesn't know exactly the setup of his powers. So I think it's very cool idea of an author working with his main character to go through and finish his story. So it's very interesting premise, very cool idea. So excited to go through. So thank you so much for sending this to me. I'll have JG McKinney's information. So if you're interested in checking this out as well, all the information to this book and to his website will be in the description below. So the next one I ended up going through and getting was a book that I heard got a lot of love from Tom Orange, and I've talked about Tom and his recommendations. And when it comes to contemporary works, Tom always finds these gems. He reads them, he gives them a lot of love, and then I have to go through and pick them up because beat after beat, I am obsessed with these books. So I've been searching, and I've been wanting to read this book since Tom was mentioning it, but I don't want to buy it brand new. So I was thinking about going to the library, and then I went to the local bookstore because I had that gut feeling, and I found Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, and I was able to get this for $2. You know how excited I was to get this book for $2? So excited. So this is a modern retelling of David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, but instead it's set in a contemporary Appalachian. I think that's where it's based off, Appalachians, and it follows Demon Fields. Yeah, follows Demon Fields from birth through his young adulthood. So super excited to go through and jump into this. I'm definitely going to be reading this within the next few months. This is a big book, so probably not this month, probably not in December, so probably first of next year I'm going to go through and jump into Demon Copperhead, and I'm expecting my soul to be crushed because I heard this is a super sad book, so I need to be in that right headspace. So if you read Demon Copperhead, let me know in the description below how gut-wrenching, how emotional this book is. So I'm very curious to hear from you. So let's talk about what's happening next week. On Monday, I already mentioned I'm interviewing E.L. Lyons, author of The Starlight Jewel. Super excited for that conversation. Just need to figure out my questioning so I don't get too spoilery. On Tuesday, I am doing my top 10 books that I read since starting BookTube a year ago. It's officially been over a year since I've been on BookTube, which is crazy. Did not think it was going to go by this fast. Super excited to go through and talk about the top 10 books that I read since starting BookTube. It was a very, very hard list to put together, but I had to keep going back to these top 10 because they hit me in all the right ways. So super excited to go through and talk about that. So that's going to happen on Tuesday. Then on Friday, we're doing our weekly recaps, talk about everything that happens from now to next Friday. Jumping into my indie author spotlight, and I realized I didn't grab the book. So it's the indie author spotlight, and today we're going to be talking about an awesome author. We're going to be talking about Tim Carter, the awesome mind behind The Jester. Tim is honestly one of the coolest, most genuine people in the indie scene right now. He's hilarious. He is creative, and his energy is contagious, and he puts that same energy, that same love into The Jester, which is, it's sharp, it is clever, it's impossible to go through and put down. I think I flew through this story. It is right under 300 pages, like 275, and I could not put this book down. It is so good. The Shelley character in this is a blast. I had a interview with Tim, and I'll put it either in the description or above here somewhere. We can go through and hear from the author and how amazing this story is. It is so much fun. I had so much love for this story. So Tim Carter, I will be putting all of his information in the description below. Please go through and check out Tim's works, and definitely The Jester. It was so much fun. So jumping in now to the final section, which is the BookTuber Spotlight. And I was going through and looking at the list, and I had to go and mention Morgan on BookPanda. I started following Morgan, I think it's last year I started following Morgan's stuff, and I'm a huge fan of her content in general across the board. But the one that I look forward to every single week since I've been following her channel is her new book release videos, where Morgan goes over what books are coming out or that just came out during that week. I look forward to this because I get to not only have a reminder of, oh, hey, these are the new books coming out this year or this week, but also, hey, here are some gems that you might not know about. It honestly, it makes my life so much easier where I'm not having to Google, hey, here's all the new books coming out and let me add these to my TBR, because Morgan goes through and puts in so much effort, so much work to go into these weekly videos to go through and say, hey, here's some new books that are coming out. So awesome stuff. She also does vlogs, she does book hauls, TBR videos, reviews, the normal booktube stuff. But I really enjoy the weekly videos she does on new book releases, and I really do appreciate that she does that. Again, Morgan is definitely someone you need to go through and check out. Her information will be in the description below, so go through and check out her stuff. She's fantastic. So that's it for this week, this week's update. Let me know what you're reading, watching, or grabbing on your hauls this week. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. You know what to do. Ty, see you in the next one. Stay overbooked.